basically they're all connected underneath by PVC pipe. And there's a piece that goes into the rain barrel itself called a bulkhead fitting, which I'll show you how to hook up. And it all connects to, this is called an MTP, male thread adapter. This is what your hose is up to. And I just have a ball valve right here, which will let it come out. And the neat thing about water is that, you know, it follows some really specific rules. So when this is hooked up, it's just going to go into one. The water is going to go into this barrel, and when one fills up, it puts pressure on the other ones.
Yeah, and it equalizes out. Yeah. Do you have a lot of the capture systems I've heard that are advanced, like throw off the first amount of water? Have you heard about this?
I haven't. To be honest, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff myself. I know how to build them. I'm sure there's so many other little tricks I can learn.
And this height is enough? Like, I'm surprised that...
Oh, yeah. Because, again, another rule that it follows is that it'll flow from its highest point, again, until it equalizes. So if the water, for instance, was filled up to here, I can water anything below this level.
Yeah.
But if the hose, like, went up, it would stop coming out.
It went above that level.
Yeah, definitely above that.
I
can definitely do that now because there's enough pressure pushing it down.
So you can take it anywhere and it's pretty effective.
Yeah. And for now I'm just going to be using a wood board to cover it over, and I'll be cutting a small hole for the drain pipe, and I'll put some kind of like mesh around it just so mosquitoes don't get in. One little thing I have learned, I guess, if you put rabbit droppings in there, that helps keep mosquitoes away. I guess it kind of treats the stale water. Again, the details are a little fuzzy for me, but so that's that system. And the nice thing about this is you can hook up as many as you need. And yeah, I didn't make this too high. At first I was considering making it like this tall, but then I realized I don't really need that much. I mean, I'm just going to be watering some raised beds and occasionally filling up some water for the chickens. And
so how are you going to get the water to here? I see you have...
Oh, right there. See that drain pipe?
Okay.
I have adapters.
Yep.
You're going to cut into it.
Yep, and I have all those. And it's going to go from there down to here, and I have another elbow, which is then going to bring it down.
Yep.
Pretty simple. I just got to get an extra pair of hands to help me. So let's move on to...
And where'd you get the actual buckets?
Oh, I got these at Elm City Cheese.
Oh, okay. Did we talk on gift flow? Is that where you found out about it?
No.
Or no? Or you found us through somebody else? Okay. I talked to somebody about getting these buckets from Elm City Cheese, but...
Do they charge, or do they just
No, they give them away.
Really?
Yeah,
they get a
excess.
shipment once a month, maybe once every other month. And once you get to know them, they'll call you when they come in. And
yeah, they do that for the Lanchers. I actually wanted to get a bunch to do more rainwater capture, because I work with the community gardens.
Right.
So I'm interested in how we can start building these in the different gardens. So, but the other one, I heard there's a olive company importer in West Haven that also has.
But what's
I don't know. They're olive importer, and so I had my housemate went to a composting workshop, and apparently they got a bunch of the barrels from there, and they have these like really nice screw lids.
Ooh. They give them away for free?
Or nominal cost. I mean, I think it was that or $5. He took the workshop and they were free in the workshop, so I don't know if they're.
I'll look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause having a top is.
I'll give you my email if he's in Europe now, but like when he gets back, he'd know more details than I would. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple places. Cool. All right, you were gonna show us something?
Yeah, so I'll show you how to build one. Come over here. I'll show you the tools and the materials. It's for chickens if you want to feed them later.
Oh my.
So for tools you need a drill. Yeah, cordless or corded, as long as it's a drill. You need a hole saw. This particular one is a 1 3/4 inch bit, because this is the bulkhead fitting. That's more material. I'll go over the tools. Something to cut with, a couple clamps. That's really all you need for tools.
It's pretty simple.
Materials themselves. This is the bulkhead fitting. This
And you just get that at Home Depot?
No, these aren't at Home Depot. I ordered these online.
Okay.
A pack of 4 goes for $12.75. I originally went to Lowe's, and they sent me to Marine West in Brantford or somewhere out there. Something like this was about $15.
Wow.
Really?
So
What'd you get it for online?
$12.75 for pack 4.
For a pack of 4?
Yeah.
See, that's the kind of thing, just like getting the right materials in place is...
Exactly.
You get a bunch of them and...
Exactly. And this is a 1-inch.
Yep.
And by 1 inch, it means it'll accept a 1-inch PVC.
Okay.
Like that. It includes a
gasket.
This is the gasket, and this is the other side that screws on.
Okay.
You'll need various PVC pieces depending on how you actually assemble it. I mean, the actual shape doesn't really matter, but you have options depending on the space you're fitting it into. And again, this is the ball valve. Silicone caulk, and PVC glue, and cement.
Yep.
And this is a rubber packing sheet, and I'll explain what that's for in a second.
That one's not clear. The rest of it makes sense. That one.
Yeah. I might not even need this, but I'll show you why I use that. So the first step is actually just to cut a hole, which I already did. I actually disassembled this because I realized I didn't have any more of these.
Yeah.
Well, I want to show them how to build it, so I just kind of took it apart, really. Won't say quickly, but I did it. So you just start by drilling a hole, and if it's really dirty, I will sand it a little bit. This is pretty fine, so I just kind of kept it. I've seen dirtier ones. So once you cut your hole, you also want to, basically this is to make another gasket.
Okay, that makes sense.
This goes on the inside. This is for the outside.
Yep.
It might be unnecessary, but I like just being, I mean, this is $1.38, so I figured, and you get 4 out of it.
And where'd you get that at?
Oh, I got that at Lowe's.
Lowe's, yeah.
I figured for, less than $1, I might as well just add a little extra protection onto it.
So what's the total cost of your raw materials?
Oh, let me think. So this would be like $3. That's $3.
Yeah.
PVC, I mean, again, it depends. I don't even keep track of stuff like this. This might only be like 38 cents.
So like $20 plus whatever the actual work you've got to do to get it to the box, right? So.
Well, so for the actual barrels themselves, I would say about $8 each.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cheap for the barrels.
Spend more in gas going to get the stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then with all the various PVC, again, maybe another $5 or so.
Yep.
And then the stand, I mean, depending if you have the materials laying around or not, that could add up. Luckily, I had all that stuff
around.
But I mean, 4x4s, what's getting more and more expensive. So I don't really know what that's going for. I would say this full setup, for me, probably $20.
Yeah.
Are those sunk in the ground?
Yes, those are 6 inches in, and what I did is I put bricks around them just to secure them a little more.
Yeah, because they're going to be holding a lot of weight, right?
Yeah, and I'll go over that when I'm done. So, after you cut your hole, you take your bulkhead fitting, and I like to use I wouldn't say a lot of silicone, but I like to use many layers of it. And the nice thing about this is that you don't need a lot, and in fact use less than you think you need, because it will fill once pressure starts getting applied and once it's getting screwed together. So I start by putting a thin layer on here. I think I might need to clear that out.
Oops.
Oh, and the nice thing about this too, it's pretty non-toxic. I mean, there's silicone is safe. There's a couple of materials, a couple chemicals in there that give it like a weird smell, but when it dries or cures, it all evaporates. Yeah. So of course, if you're doing it indoors, always be careful make sure you have enough ventilation. Yeah. So I put a thin layer. Actually, that's a little thicker than I wanted, but it should be fine. I put that on. Put the gasket on. I put another thin layer on there. Then we get this up here. That in there. Again, another thin layer of this. Another thin layer. Again, just matter. Kind of like they have many layers, you know. It's kind of like in the winter. They say you're better off dressing in a few thin layers than one big thick layer. I'm using the same, you know, philosophy here. The important thing with this is to hand tighten it. The problem I had with those, the mistake I made, was tightening it too much, and it actually cracked. Like the bulkhead fitting. Now, granted, those ones were weaker than these. Yeah. And you'll know it's at the right tightness. You come around here. Here. The gasket should not be stretched too much, or shouldn't be flattened. It's starting to kind of lose its shape, but not too much. If you tighten it too much, it's just going to warp and it's not going to do what it's intended to. I would say that's perfect. And if you use the right amount of silicone, it'll kind of like create its own layer around its own seal. So, and then sometimes I'll put like maybe a little more here. I just spread it around with the finger. I mean, you don't need a lot. This is kind of the best tool for the job. Takes about 2 to 3 hours to cure. I probably wouldn't use it for the first day or so. And I'm not going to hook all the PVC up, but I'll just show you the basics of PVC. So this is primer. This comes in multiple colors. I have purple because I had this from a plumbing job, and you need that to be that color for it to be up to code. So when they check it, they know they actually used it. And this is the cement. Again, this stuff is a lot more volatile than the silicone, so again, if you're doing it indoors, make sure you have really good ventilation. And with this, you just spread a little bit on the PVC. Dries really quickly. You also want to do on the inside here. But I'm not actually going to glue this in because I would need a smaller piece. And again, I always cut it depending on, you know, the frame too. Sometimes you need it a little deeper, sometimes a little shorter. But once that dries, you take the PVC cement and you smother it on here. And when you connect the two, you put it in and you do about a quarter turn. That way it spreads around evenly. Otherwise, you might get a little more on one side, a little less on the other. And even though it looks like it's spread around, it's not. And so when you do put it in there with the cement, it's going to want to pop out. So just hold it in there for about a minute before it actually sets. That's kind of the basics. It's pretty. This method I have is pretty simple. And then eventually it'll all connect to the ball valve. I ended up getting a 3/4 inch one just because I had a 3/4 inch male thread adapter sitting around, so I needed to adapt it. So towards the end here, it goes from 1 inch to 3/4. And you don't need to, but I just happen to have this. Kind of it. I mean,
it's simple stuff, right?
It really is. And you're right. It is. This is heavy. When this is filled up, it's gonna be 400 pounds. So this whole setup will be 1,200 pounds. So when you have this, it's want to make sure not only is it sturdy, but also keep in mind, are there going to be kids? Are there going to be animals running around?
Yeah.
You know,
Could it tip forward?
Exactly. Never underestimate like a really curious 5-year-old climbing up something and then ripping it down.
Yeah.
And again, it's just some basic stuff. You want to cover it so the mosquitoes don't.
And you said you put a net on it?
Well, what some people do.
Or screen?
They put a screen.
Yeah.
But you only need the screen to be like that big because the rest of it will be covered with like plastic or board or whatever the case might be, and then you just need enough for
the water to come in.
Yeah, right. So you only need like a mesh screen that big.
Yeah. And what other things do people, like, decisions are there to make when doing these? So like you have one setup here, but like I heard about the type that has like those little side bucket that basically captures the first flow off the roof and then throws away that water in order that you don't get the particulate or the sediment, you know, like bird feces and things like that.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay.
I could look into it. One thing that is really important to have too is an overflow valve or like a hose or something, because I mean you don't want to get too filled up. Some people either put like.
Wouldn't it just flow over the top? Like why does it matter?
You're right, it would, but you don't want that to happen.
Because
otherwise it's just all going to be concentrated in one area.
Oh, okay, so that your overflow goes somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, I see.
So some people have just like extra. Some people will add a piece of PVC that comes up to like here, because again, when it all levels out, if it wants to fill up higher, it'll just start coming out of the PVC piece. And you can add another thread, male thread adapter onto it, and like run a hose somewhere else in the yard, so it all goes elsewhere and is spread out.
And the volume you can expect off this. So how much off of a setup like this can you expect to? This is all your water needs for all your gardening.
I believe so. I mean, I haven't done the calculation. I don't know the size of the roof. If I knew the roof size, if I knew the slope, all that stuff, I could calculate how much water would be collected. Unfortunately, I don't have those specs, so basically I'm just kind of doing trial and error.
Whenever I've looked at it, it's an amazing amount that you can collect. Like it's surprising in the way that like
and I think
you get a lot of water.
I think after like. Unfortunately, I didn't have it hooked up for the last rainfall.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet it would have just filled up completely.
Yeah.
And I don't need to collect
a lot of roof.
Water. It really is.
Yeah. Is that the only downspout?
No, there's one on the other side for the other slope of the roof, and we just don't have enough space. Or again, I don't think we have enough need for all that water. Something to consider too is what you're gonna do with it in the winter.
Yeah.
Some people empty them and don't use them at all because they freeze and.
They pop? Yeah.
Well, I mean, this whole thing could just break completely.
Yeah.
And the barrels themselves will wear out. Some people I've heard, though, depending on the slope of their yard, some people have... Hey, Josh. Hey, Adam. Some people actually build it into, like, a hill.
Yeah.
So since it's in the ground, it's not going to freeze.
Okay. Interesting. Cool.
Again, I'm still researching a lot of this stuff myself.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be a lot of options, but the basic... simple system is pretty easy.